Well, that was a spicy one, wasn't it? There was 10 yellow cards in that game, a pretty much 22-man brawl. Unai Emery squaring up to Roberto De Zerbi. It all happened in this pre-season friendly. Olympique Marseille 3, Aston Villa 1.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with your Rich Reacts show to this latest pre-season friendly, Olympique Marseille 3, Aston Villa 1, and it was a spicy affair. And yeah, a game that had pretty much everything and a good test, good exercise, a good competitive friendly for Aston Villa that was in danger a little bit of overspilling and probably did, to be fair, overspill a little bit further than I think Aston Villa would have wanted to. But all that being said, a pretty good exercise and some good performances from players and one shining star, I think, that we have on the horizon for Aston Villa, which we will get into. Not necessarily going to talk too much on the game as such, more some trends that I saw in the game, some things that I was happy with, some things that I want to see ironed out for the upcoming season, start of the season next week, and some shout outs of some performances as well. But starting lineup it's going to be a mix, isn't it, of some of the players that are going to start next week, some fringe players, and then some younger players as well. And we know that we've got the game tomorrow, i.e. Sunday against Villarreal, where a number of players will be included in that. But the starting team was Bizot, Cash, Bogard, Mings, and Luca Dean across the back. Then it was George Hemmings and Amadou Onana in that midfield area. Sam Illing Jr. and John McGinn and Jacob Ramsey and Daniel Marlon up top. And look, Aston Villa started the game off quite well, quite settled, but it was a defensive lapse from Tyrone Mings that let in Marseille for the opener. Just pretty much a long, hopeful ball up top. And Mings, I don't know whether he got a shout from Bizot or I don't know whether he just lost his bearings, but he didn't see Mason Greenwood making the diagonal run behind him, let it go, kind of stumbled a little bit as well, looked really clumsy, and Greenwood ran through, rounded Bizot, who didn't really put up much resistance. As I say, whether he was stuck in a bit of no man's land or what, I'm not too sure, and rounded him and put it into the empty net, and it was 1-0 Marseille. And like I say, the blame solely lies on Tyrone Mings, really, but it was, I don't know whether he got a shout from Bizot or whether there was just a bit of confusion, but that definitely does need ironing out before next week's game against Newcastle. However, Aston Villa weren't behind for long, and 2 minutes later, it was 1-1, and it was a nice, wonderful finish from John McGinn, albeit he was definitely offside, but we'll take it. Onana picked the ball up in the midfield area and then threaded a lovely ball through into Jacob Ramsey's feet, and he spotted the run of John McGinn. It played him in, and then a wonderful dink over the goalkeeper by John McGinn into the net, and it was 1-1. And the game kind of settled into nice spells. Marseille looking threatening on the break. You could see them operating down their left-hand side, Aston Villa's right-hand side. Jonathan Rowe causing Matty Cash one or two problems. Lamar Bogard as well, coming under some pressure. And Mason Greenwood looking threatening, operating in the area on the right hand side, but cutting right in. So they were causing some problems. Had one cross shot that went across the goal that Tyrone Mings had to block, and he did really well with that. But Aston Villa had probably the best chance of the first half. George Hemmings doing really well in the midfield towards the attacking position. Lays the ball out after some great work actually from Daniel Marlon. I must say, some great work from Daniel Marlon. He ran through, burst through, then held it up on the edge of the box. It works its way across to Hemmings, who sees Illing Jr. on the right-hand side, plays him in. Maybe could have took the shot a little bit earlier, but takes a touch, probably a little bit reluctant to use his right foot, but does hit the shot, and the goalkeeper makes a great save and it goes past the post. But again, really competitive first half, but not really too many chances. Daniel Marlon looking to get in behind, and we just couldn't quite utilize him enough. John McGinn a couple of times getting through, but then maybe the not wanting to play the pass was causing us problems, and us not really taking that final decision, that ruthless decision to go through and make the final pass to then get the final shot. But it was 1-1 in the end at half time, and you could be fairly satisfied with that performance. I thought Onana was quite good in that central midfield in the first half. I think John McGinn was the driving force in that first half. And Hemmings, while they were testing him, they really did test him that first 15, 20 minutes. He did come into the game, and we'll talk more about him as this review goes on. Second half starts, and it's just really scrappy, if I'm being honest. I can't really recall too much happening in that second half of note, other than multiple bookings, really niggly fouls that the referee didn't stamp out enough. He probably should have had a word with both captains. He probably should have had a word with the bench, but he didn't. He let things go. He blew up fouls when he probably shouldn't have. He didn't blow up fouls when he should have. He gave yellow cards here, there, and everywhere, which didn't really matter. And the game was on the brink of descending into farce before it actually did. There was an effort from Mason Greenwood that went just wide, and there was, I think, from a corner or a free kick that we did well to defend. But ultimately, nothing really happened that second half. Daniel Marlon, the ball kept bouncing off him up front, and it does show how important Ollie Watkins is in certain time periods in games to help us get the ball up the pitch and help us to hold the ball at the top of the pitch, because the ball was bouncing off him and we weren't retaining the ball. We weren't retaining possession enough at all. Substitutes were made, and Aubameyang came on, and inevitably Aubameyang scored, and it was down at their left-hand side again. Jonathan Rowe involved, and this time he played the ball down the line for the midfielder who just got the run on George Hemmings, and then the cross came in. Aubameyang had peeled away from Tyrone Mings, and lovely volleyed finish into the net, and that was 2-1. And then immediately after, Greenwood roasts Luca Dean down their right-hand side, Villa's left-hand side, puts the ball across the box. It somehow misses everyone. It misses Bizot, misses Mings, misses Lamar Bogard, and then finds its way to Aubameyang, who just bundles it in over the line. And it's 3-1. And as I say, then game's over, really. But it was interesting to see Aston Villa not really making too many substitutes. They didn't make any substitutions at halftime. They wanted to give players minutes, and it wasn't until kind of the 68th minute that any substitutions were made, and that was Gesson and Buendia that came on for Ramsey and Marlon. And then ultimately on 81 minutes, multiple changes were made. And I think that was probably to do with the players were getting really tired. You could see one or two of them really looking leggy. And he didn't want the scoreline to descend into, 4s and 5s, wanted to keep it fairly respectable. And Villa could have maybe got a goal towards the end. A nice bit of play from Gesson actually playing in Moreno. And he put the ball across, and Buendia dummied it, but it didn't quite fall to anyone in the box. And then we had another opportunity, this time from a free kick after, I don't know who it was who got hacked down. We'll come to that in a second. But ball went across, and it evaded everyone. I think Gesson went for the header. Konsa maybe went for the header as well. The goalkeeper manages to parry it out. It hits a Marseille player, but finds its way to Bradley Burrows, but he couldn't quite put it away. And the ball goes out for a corner. Probably should have scored if we're being honest. But that was probably about it for the game. But in terms of the actual game as a whole, it was good to have a real competitive spirit to it. But it did descend into absolute farce. Like I say, 10 yellow cards, multiple brawls. Mason Greenwood hacking down Amadou Onana towards the end, then really getting involved with Tyrone Mings, and he really doesn't want to do that, which was great to see Mings getting involved in that. But multiple times, Marseille players hacking Villa players down, but Villa players giving as good as they've got. There was some tasty challenges from Villa players as well. But yeah, it just didn't. It wasn't good towards the end, and I didn't like what I saw towards the end. Unai Emery squaring up to De Zerbi after Neil Maupay came on and hacked down Boubacar Kamara. It was more like a rugby tackle. That wasn't good. I think there was Medina on the pitch as well. He was winding up everyone, trying to get people booked, trying to get people sent off, then hacking people down. I think he put a bad challenge in on Hemmings, or pushed Hemmings off the ball. He then put a bad challenge in on Burrows that I think the fourth official picked up on. So it really was a strange attitude from Marseille for a pre-season friendly to take it that seriously and to really, really sort of, I guess, go out with intent to not necessarily injure Villa players, but certainly really rattle them and kind of get in their faces and potentially trying to wind them up into some sort of bad challenge or some bad situations was really puzzling. And they do have some really dislikable players and manager. I can't stand De Zerbi, Medina, Maupay, Greenwood. Some really, really dislikable players on that pitch for Marseille. But look, I'm not going to look too much into the performance as such. I thought for parts of that first half, we looked really well organised. I thought there were some really good performances. I thought Hemmings grew into the game really well, albeit that for that goal, he let the player get the run on him and get the wrong side of him. But I can forgive that because some of the football that he played, some of the composure on the ball, some of the getting back and challenging and the physicality that he showed as well to hold players off the ball. There was one piece of skill in the second half where he pirouetted on the ball, couldn't quite play it through to who I think it might have been Gesson who was up front at the time, but wonderful piece of play from Hemming. So he really impressed me. I thought John Mcginn was excellent in that first half. Some things that concern me a little bit. Daniel Marlin seemed to run out of steam very, very quickly in that second half, and it was really noticeable to see. But also, we didn't look for him enough. We didn't look for him in behind enough. The distances as well between Cash and Bogard and Mings is a concern as well, because multiple times they were attacking us down their left-hand side and we just couldn't get the distances right. And that shows you how important Ezri Konsa is to this team, because if the distance isn't quite right between him and Cash, or between Pau Torres or Mings and Konsa, whoever's playing the left centre-back, Konsa has the pace and the composure to cover any of those mistakes. And we didn't quite have that today. You could see the distances just weren't right and we looked a bit ragged. We also keep persisting with this playing the ball across the back. And my concern is when we're playing it across the back, we don't have the options in midfield for us to utilize. We don't have the players for them to then pop it into midfield for and then play a quick pass up the line or a quick pass round the corner. We just don't do it enough. So in the end, we end up playing ourselves into too much trouble. And if we haven't got Torres in the team, we don't have good enough ball players to be able to get themselves out of trouble. So I can see us playing ourselves into quite a lot of dangerous situations just by not being good enough to play across the back. But ultimately, I think there was some encouraging signs. They'll go into tomorrow with another team, a fresh team. Obviously, there was a few players that played sort of 10 minutes tonight, but you could imagine, obviously, Yuri Tielemans will play, Ezri Konsa will start, Ollie Watkins will start, and Pau Torres will start, and Emi Martinez will start. So you can see there'll be different players that will start tomorrow's game against Villarreal, Sunday's game against Villarreal. So you can't read too much into that. It was good to see Ealing Jr. get some minutes. It was good to see George Hemmings get more minutes, and he was really impressive. So that was nice to see. But I think there'll be some players that have played tonight that will play on Saturday, and there will be other players that will play tomorrow on Sunday that will play next Saturday as well. So it's definitely been a mix of players, and it's been a good workout for the players today. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who impressed you? It was nice to see Evan Gesson get on the pitch. He didn't really have too much to do, made a few good runs. As I say, mate, played a really nice pass through to Moreno and had another opportunity where he beat a couple of men but couldn't quite get his shot off. But he might get some minutes against Villarreal. And look, it'd be great to have him as an option next week against Newcastle as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who impressed you? What's still concerning you? What did you think of Marseille? Because like I say, so many dislikable players. so many strange situations, and the referee totally lost control of the game. As I said, at first it seemed like he was letting the game flow, and then maybe giving a yellow card just to kind of temper it down, but certainly didn't do enough to do that, and it kind of did descend into a bit of a farce for the last 15 minutes or so. So I don't know how much Villa would have learned from that part of it, but certainly the first 60 minutes, I think it was a good contest. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll be back after the Villarreal game with another Rich Reacts show. Thank you for watching. We'll be back as well on the Fans Forum on Tuesday for our season predictions, ready for the big kickoff next week against Newcastle. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We are so close now to 6,000 subscribers, literally just over 100 to go. You can help us get there. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.